It's over for Shannon Sharpe at ESPN for now. ESPN didn't sign up for a fight with Shannon Sharpe. And
That's
Shannon
crazy,
Sharpe
man.
signed on to ESPN saying everything in that conduct policy I would adhere to. We'll allow you to put out this press release. We'll allow you to mention it first. You can say we're mutually parting ways for now, whatever you want to say, but we can't continue our relationship for now. We'll see if that's forever when the NFL preseason starts. So ESPN is like, look, these text messages too much. These audio
Way too
leaks way
much.
too much. And you about to go to 3 months because there's a video that you even said that's going to make you look bad and we have to wait for.
Marcellus Wiley reacts to Shannon Sharpe stepping away from ESPN. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
Blah, blah, blah. What's up, y'all? It's Marcellus Wiley, that dude. It's over for Shannon Sharpe at ESPN for now. I
Yeah,
repeat,
I think it's a
for
wrap.
now. So I'm at an investors conference and I was listening to some pitches, decided to take a break, went to the bar to hydrate, opened up my phone, and boom, Shannon's X account has this screenshot. Quote, my statement is found here and this is the truth. The relationship in question was 100% consensual. At this juncture, I'm electing to step aside temporarily from my ESPN duties. I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. I sincerely appreciate the overwhelming and ongoing support I've received from my family, fans, friends, and colleagues. Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, I think it was inevitable. He had to step away. All the negative light ruining the shield at ESPN, and then more reports and just more info coming out as far as this lawsuit. I don't think he's coming back at the start of the NFL preseason. Why not just step away now, say that you're coming back, and then by the NFL season starting, you're not going to see Shannon Sharpe. I think there'll be an official statement of him departing from ESPN.
Wow. Kaboom. A lot of conversation about would Shannon Sharpe be able to keep his job throughout this litigation process. We now know that answer.
Man, looking good.
What happened? What changed the hearts? What changed the minds of those ESPN executives? Because when the allegations first hit, Shannon Sharpe was allowed to still come on air. Something changed. We'll talk through that.
Yeah, all
But
those
first, I want you
messages.
guys to all know, what did Shannon Sharpe sign on to when he signed to go to ESPN? Here's their conduct policy. You will act at all times with due regard to public morals and conventions. You shall refrain from any offensive or distasteful remarks or conduct in the production and broadcast of the programs. If in at any time you shall do or have done any act or thing that would amount to a felony or misdemeanor under federal, state, or local laws, or which tends to bring you or us into public disrepute, scandal, or ridicule, or which might insult or offend the community or substantial group thereof, or which might reflect unfavorably on us or injure the success of the programs, we shall have the right to terminate this agreement at any time before the expiration of 30 days after the date on which we acquire knowledge thereof.
In other words, don't F up, don't ruin the shield, and you'll keep your job. So essentially, that's what Shannon Sharpe did, even though he can be proclaimed innocent. Not saying he did anything wrong, but just all the reports coming out, the choking and just the text messages and audio being released, then a possible tape that could be released as well, a 30-second clip. I think ESPN knows it's over. Shannon knows it's over. He still has his platforms, but hopefully he doesn't lose his sponsorships.
Just wanted to clarify for everybody out there, there was a 30-day clock that started the day that ESPN found out about these allegations in terms of enforcing their conduct policy. So
30
now,
days,
let's
huh?
get into this, because Shannon Sharpe, like everybody, was under the presumption of innocence when the allegations first hit. He actually still is, but here's the problem. There are two ways to fight allegations like this. The traditional method, which you let your lawyers speak and you put out that blanket statement that says, I'm going to let due process take care of itself and we'll discuss this in the court of law, blah, 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 right? And then there's the newer model, which Jay-Z took, which is come out swinging, and not only swinging, but successfully winning that fight, getting the case dismissed, turning the plaintiff into a defendant in a countersuit and suing them for defamation along with the lawyer.
Yeah, and that's definitely the approach that Shannon and his legal team were taking, the Jay-Z approach. Let's go ahead and deny it, say that you're going to countersue for defamation, but at the same time, if you're Shannon, it's just way more information that's coming out with audio and text and possible video. Jay-Z didn't have that in his situation, just a miscellaneous random claim. Everyone knew it was false, but still with Shannon, completely different. He got to prove a lot because with all the damning evidence, with audio and text and possible visually, he got a huge mountain to climb as far as proclaiming his innocence and trying to win this civil case and try to countersue. It's going to be tough for Shannon, but we'll see what happens.
Now that's a knockout blow. Shannon Sharpe chose the Jay-Z route. He even mentioned Jay-Z in one of his responses to these allegations. Here's the problem with the Jay-Z route, what Shannon is going through right now. Because when you go, if anybody's ever been in a fight and you win that fight, oh, people gonna know you still been in a fight, even if you're victorious. So ESPN didn't sign up for a fight with Shannon Sharpe. And Shannon Sharpe signed on to ESPN saying everything in that conduct policy I would adhere to. So with the presumption of innocence, all of a sudden they had a change of heart, change of mind, and said, hey, we'll allow you to put out this press release. We'll allow you to mention it first. You can say we're mutually parting ways for now, whatever you want to say, but we can't continue our relationship for now.
And again, for now means forever. Let's be real. He ruined the Shield, the contract, the clauses, the termination type talk. He basically did that. So even though he may be innocent, you're still bringing a bad light on ESPN. People may not want to work with you. People may not feel comfortable. You even seen Stephen A. Smith. He was saying, you know, I support him, but I wasn't there, so we got to let everything play out. So when the person that pretty much hired you got you on board, that's kind of stepping away, I think Shannon Sharpe knew that it was a wrap at ESPN.
We'll see if that's forever when the NFL preseason starts. But here's the problem with it. And these are some of the missteps. And I've heard a lot of people talk about these missteps, and I discussed them as well. When you come out swinging, you got to remember they're going to fight back as well. And in this situation, leaking text messages, audio leaks of you privately going to choke her and publicly going to choke her, and even the racial elements of a black man versus a white woman and those conversations that were leaked to the public.
Shannon messed up.
And even Shannon's response where he said that the lawyer has a vendetta against black men and black celebrities, whatever it may be. ESPN didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, ESPN didn't sign up for that. And with the whole Tony Busby situation, saying that he's going after black men. If you got money, you got bankroll, all the reports coming out that you may sign a $100 million contract, podcast deal, of course, they're after pockets, so you can be whatever color that you want. But Shannon, you got to take accountability. Yeah, Tony Busby and the Accuser may be trying to finesse you, but you put yourself in this situation.
Disney didn't sign up for that.
Oh, no,
those
Disney
are demographics that they
rocking
respect.
with that.
And no matter what you caught yourself into, whatever you stepped into, Shannon Sharpe, ESPN doesn't have to step with you.
Nah.
And then some of the content, let's just be real about it, is graphic if you want to go that far, erotic. Point being, it's hard to sell a Disney movie in Snow White when you got these kind of conversations being had on your platform about your brand, about one of your brand ambassadors, your talents. So then that discussion led everything astray. And ESPN, now this is me just guessing, conjecture. If Shannon would have allowed this just to hit as an allegation, stayed quiet as they did on air, only Pat McAfee and his show had one conversation about it, and that was in a joke. That wasn't even Pat McAfee. No one has discussed this. If this would have just stayed allegation, we got to wait, I think Shannon Sharpe is still employed by ESPN.
Now, it's kind of tricky because just with all the stuff that's coming out now, if Shannon Sharpe didn't say anything, would a lot of text messages be put out? would a narrative be placed with the Accuser and Tony Busby that Shannon Sharpe is a certain way. So he tried to get ahead of it. This is 2025. This ain't like back in the day where you just let things play out. You try to get ahead of it to kind of sway the court of public opinion. That's what Shannon Sharpe did, and he may have overplayed his hand, but, it is what it is. He had to go out swinging, see what sticks, and either way, he was doomed, but I see what he was trying to do. But in these situations, you just never know what's going to happen.
Now, we all saw that Michael Irvin and Paul Pierce were let go for less in their situations immediately, it felt, right? But you got to remember this. Respectfully, they're also regarded as lesser talents than Shannon Sharpe is by ESPN right now. He's certainly the king of the internet in terms of sports media. And you can make an argument that with his participation in all these shows, that he may be one of the kings in sports media, even in cable linear platform. So ESPN is like, look, these text messages too much. These audio leaks way too much. And you about to go to 3 months because there's a video that you even said that's going to make you look bad. And we have to wait for.
Yeah, I think the video will be the nail in the coffin. If he does have a little bit of a chance to return to ESPN and keeping his sponsors, if that video comes out and it looks terrible, looks crazy, I think that's going to be it for Shannon Sharpe. It's already it for Shannon, but he's holding on for dear life. But that video, that's going to be one of the things to where that's the deciding factor if Shannon Sharpe can remain on television.
We can't wait for that anymore. We can't step together as this case continues. So a very public case that was just an allegation has now been litigated in the court of public opinion.
Oh, no, it's
problem with litigating it for the world to see is that ESPN and Disney was a part of that world observing it as well.
Court of public opinion. Looking bad.
My take beyond everything I just laid out for you guys is this. We'll see what happens in the NFL preseason because a lot's going to happen if they continue this outfighting, not even infighting, outfighting. Yep. Outward-facing, public-facing fighting. It seems like every time one shoots, the other one has a shot in the air as well.
It's a classic boxing match, legal boxing match. You throw a blow, I throw a blow. So right now, Shannon Sharpe put out some info, some content. They put out some content, and it's just going back and forth. Then his lawyer's doing interviews as well, and I'm sure Tony Busby, he's going to have some interviews as well just because this is a primetime case, primetime lawsuit. So there's just going to be a lot of blows being thrown between each party, and we'll see which one lands and who could possibly win this match.
Will they continue this before we even see them in a court of law? Yeah, and I think it has to go to the courtroom because it's not beneficial for right now Shannon Sharpe to settle. He will never get his reputation back to the level he can attain if he settles now.
Well, he tried to settle for $10 million. She turned it down. So by her turning down the $10 million, are there more parties involved that, want a piece of that 10? 10's not enough. Is 20, 30 enough? If going to trial, hopefully he can win it and not have to pay anything and can countersue. But by her turning down that $10 million, she got a lot of info and a lot of content on Shannon Sharpe.
Because the settling, the $10 million plus settlement, once that was botched, once that was not accepted by the plaintiff, we got to go all the way with it, right?
Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
Everybody.
And right now we are all into this. Sad state of affairs because I root for Shannon Sharpe. I think everybody in this game has to root for Shannon Sharpe because he's bossing. He's out there winning. But as he just learned a lesson, as Stephen A. Smith always states, we all got bosses. And I think Stephen A. Smith knew this was coming. You could tell by the tone, you could tell by his remarks on his own platform that this was going to be an issue in terms of employment at ESPN. Let's see how it all plays out. I'm not certain, and I don't believe that Shannon Sharpe will return NFL preseason unless this goes away, unless this turns into the Jay-Z conversation and he can prove his innocence and salvage as much of his reputation as possible. But continuing this route where we all are opening up our phones when we're at the bar, when we're around the house and seeing X and seeing more leaked tweets, leaked audio, etc., is not going to fare well for Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, it's looking bad for Shannon. The video hasn't come out yet. That may be the only thing that he's holding on to as far as remaining on television. The main thing with Shannon, how many sponsors can he keep? If he loses his sponsors on Club Shay Shay and Nightcap, that's going to hurt him even more than the ESPN deal, because the ESPN deal, that can always expire. That can always go away. But if he loses his sponsors and his brand deals on his individual platforms, that's where Shannon's going to take the biggest hit. So we'll see what happens moving forward with Shannon Sharpe and this lawsuit.